Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in a chilly Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm down here in Tennessee. We got a winter storm warning blowing through as well, man. We're in the middle of it all, middle of the offseason. Excited to talk about the Green Bay Packers today with all you fans. Want to thank all the new subs, all the new comments. Y'all have been crushing it. Really appreciate all the support. Thank y'all for joining the PTA family. On tap today, we've got clarification, a little bit of clarification from Pete Doherty over at the Green Bay Press-Gazette on the coaching salary. You know, we've heard rumors here. We've heard rumors there. Are the Packers cheap with their assistants? Have they changed that? I think we've got pretty much confirmation on that with some details coming out about what Jeff Hafley made as a defensive coordinator in Green Bay. And I think that's great news moving forward to someone like, I don't know, maybe a Jim Leonhard if the bidding war begins, or someone else from one of these Final Four teams that we might potentially be interested in hiring as the defensive coordinator. Also, on the backside of the show, we're going to talk NFL free agency a little bit and kind of look at the top 40 free agents, top 40 players who are set to hit free agency according to the Ringer, and we'll kind of give maybe an opinion or two on a few players that we like out of that group as well. But before we get into it, if you would do that YouTube stuff for me, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your day. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're not meteorologists. We're not weather experts. We are fans just like you talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you look for that type of content, make sure you do hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on any future streams. And yeah, we appreciate y'all supporting the show. Tim, Bub, are you staying warm? That's the first and foremost question.
As warm as I can, man. I got the base layer on, got the fleece line hoodie on. Temperature's dropping a degree a minute up here, you know. Got the wind chill factor, seeing the snow blow around. It's frigid up here. Chilly is an understatement. It's frigid for sure.
Absolutely. Now, I will just say this. If the stream gets a little glitchy, if it gets a little hiccupy, not surprised one bit with the ice storm we got blowing through the southeast and Tim up there at negative 700 degrees. So we'll do the best we can. If it does get a little, like I said, a little glitchy, you guys know what's going on.
No, man, I'm about to go over to Titletown, stretch the kicking leg out, see if I can get a few up in this weather. Get a couple in the uprights, you know?
Yeah, go over and pull a butt cheek. That's what's going to happen. You go over and kick it in this weather, I promise you. So all right, let's golly, it's crazy, man. Ben Holden in the chat, negative 21 here in Whitewater, Wisconsin. That is insane, man. You guys stay safe out there. Keep your ass indoors today, folks. All right, stay in the house. Don't get out in it. So
don't listen to me. Don't do anything stupid like try to kick field goals in your 40s when it's negative 40.
Go out there and break a toe. That's what's going to happen. So all right, let's get into it, guys. So I kind of talked about it a little bit just a second ago. What we had was Pete Doherty had put out an article, and buried in that article, he had some information on kind of what Jeff Hafley made. Now, we've always speculated, right, Tim? I want, probably going to be making about this much. It was reported this guy got paid that much. This information doesn't get leaked out very easily, although these coaches have agents that work for them, and they want to get the information out as much as they can, right? They want people to know, I'm getting my client the top dollar. That's how this stuff typically leaks out. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of dive into what Pete Doherty said. We're going to go through what the research is showing, what DCs are getting, and then we'll talk about what Rich Bisaccia is potentially getting paid. And I'm sure this will spark a big conversation. This isn't going to turn into a Rich Bisaccia Rose Fest. This isn't going to turn into Ed Policy Roach Fest, right? This is literally all this is kind of laying out. We're putting to bed, it seems like the Packers are paying top dollar for coordinators. And it explains why Rob Demovsky got so animated on that show the other day, obviously dropping some wordy words that we don't approve of on this particular program. So let's get into it, Tim. I wanted to say credits for the basis of this information was uncovered by Pete Doherty of the Green Bay Press-Gazette. You can follow Pete on X at Pete Doherty and at PackersNews.com. Pete has reported that the Packers paid Jeff Hafley's Boston College buyout, which I think it was kind of reported. I don't know if Pete reported on this. I've heard $1 million So the Packers have paid $1 million roughly to buy him out of that contract with Boston College, and then a $4 million salary. Now, other reports were saying it was a $1 million buyout, $3 million salary, somewhere in the 3 to 5 range, I think is safe to say. But just combing through, asking AI, hey, what are we hearing here? They had some links attached as well. When Jeff Hafley joined the Green Bay Packers in early 2024, he reportedly left a secure $4 million annual salary at Boston College. While his specific Packers contract figures weren't disclosed, several industry factors provide a clear picture. Market competitive offer to lure a successful sitting Power 5 head coach back to the NFL. The Packers offer likely met or exceeded his collegiate salary. Again, this is what AI is saying. Pete Doherty already said $4 million. Okay. Top tier status reports indicated that Hafley left big money on the table at BC to pursue the role. But industry analysts suggest the Packers deal likely landed in the $3.5 million to $5 million range to make him one of the highest paid coordinators in the league. Career trajectory, his success in Green Bay taking the defense to a top 10 unit in scoring yards and takeaways in 2024 led him to being hired as a Miami Dolphins head coach. All right, so on the surface here, guys, what we're talking about is, first of all, you got to ask yourself, why would Jeff Hafley leave being a head coach in college to come to the NFL to get paid pretty much the same money to be a DC? He was very vocal. He didn't like NIL. He didn't like the direction that college football was going in, because there's some schools, if you guys didn't hear Luke Fickell yesterday on the Wilding and Tao show, man, anytime you hear a coach talk to him, they're like, this thing's changing. Like, it's different. I think he said it's different today than it was last Wednesday. Like it's constantly evolving. So that explains why, in my opinion, Jeff Hafley was like, yeah, I'm getting the hell away from this monster. Let's go to the league where everybody can legally pay players and everybody's on an equal playing field, which I kind of hope that's what college football gets to, is a similar model, like a salary cap type thing. But what's your thoughts on this? I think this is good news, because we've always had in the back of our mind, are we being cheapskates with assistants? And that's why we're not getting what we need,
No, I think it's a great point. And I think the other thing, you have to look at is the fact that it's a path to, a head coaching job in the NFL. I mean, hindsight being 2020, Hafley is the new head coach of the Miami Dolphins, right? So he got out of the college, the mess of NIL that he wanted to. And you're right, regardless of what he was paid to be our DC the last 2 seasons, I think that clearly there was going to be a path for him to be a head coach again and at the professional level. And here he is now down in South Beach. So, I think it does kind of shine a light on the fact that, if we place value on our assistants, we're going to find a way to get them here. And, I don't think we're being too cheap. Hopefully not. We got a new regime, right? We've got at least new leadership at the top. But the core is still there with, obviously, why am I drawing a blank right now? Russ Ball making these decisions, and Goody's still in the mix, and Matt LaFleur. So I think when they build this staff out, I don't think we're going to be stingy, and we're not going to be cheap. Certainly weren't cheap with Rich, right? We got Rich here.
Right. Now, listen, whether people think he's the right choice or not, that's up for debate, and everybody gets very colorful with that conversation, right? But the reality is, the reports that Justice Mosqueda had before, that kind of stem from other articles that were written, suggested that that's why they missed out on Darren Rizzi in 2019, right? Now, Rob Demovsky was very colorful with his comments, saying that's absolute BS, right? That is not the case. Rizzi didn't want to come to Green Bay. He wanted to go to somewhere warmer. Now he ends up in Denver. The irony is very big there, right? So with all that being said, it feels like things have shifted because they did go pay Rich Bisaccia. We're going to talk about that next. But NFL defensive coordinator salary rankings 25 through 26. Hafley's compensation in Green Bay likely placed him in the elite bracket of NFL coordinators. For comparison, here are the top paid DCs of the 2025 season. Vic Fangio with Philadelphia Eagles, $4.5 million. Matt Eberflus of the Dallas Cowboys, $4 million. They paid Eberflus $4 million to go down there and completely destroy their defense. It's wild to think about. Steve Spagnuolo, Kansas City Chiefs, $3.5 million. Todd Bowles with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, $3 million. Aiden Durd, the Seattle Seahawks up-and-coming coach there, $2 million. That's a guy that I wonder if he'll get a head coaching offer or at least interview for next week. I think all coaches can kind of interview next week, whether they've been eliminated or not, because you get that week between, the Super Bowl. But those are just kind of some quick glances there. Most NFL defense coordinators earn between $1 and $2 million. Hafley's background as a head coach likely pushed him into the top 3 tier, alongside veteran defensive minds like Fangio and Spagnuolo. So again, the reason I'm excited about this news is you paid top dollar and you got a top dollar performance with Jeff Hafley, right? You ended up with 2 years of top 10 defense. Now, down the stretch, it got ugly, a lot of injuries. Is that the norm? I don't know. But to me, Tim, this says, okay, probably going to go out and spend top 3 money again to get the right guy in here. And to me, that's exciting. It really is, man. So in terms of Rich Bisaccia, when Rich Bisaccia was hired by the Packers in 2022, the move was widely reported as making him the highest paid special teams coordinator in the NFL. While the Packers do not officially release contract figures, here's the breakdown of the compensation, blah, blah, blah. So Bisaccia reportedly earns approximately $2 million per year. He signed an extension on January 27, 2025, which keeps him under contract through the 2026 season. Okay, so he is under contract this year. Will he be back? I don't know. They could cut ties there. They could just keep him on staff as the assistant head coach and hire someone else to be special teams coordinator. That's the route I would go, because listen, whether we like Rich Bisaccia or not, and again, I've been very vocal. When I watch the special teams, I don't look up and go, oh, this is lack of coaching. I look at these guys and go, but that's lack of execution. You just let somebody scream off the edge to get a hand in the face of your kicker. That's lack of execution. Romeo Doubs, arguably your most veteran wide receiver on your team, on the hands team, to try to field an onside kick, and he's backing up. And afterwards he said, yeah, I've got to go after that ball. He realized he made a mistake. That's not on the coaches. They can't go out there and go, pause like it's Madden. Go field the ball. Go field the ball. All you can do is train them, coach them. They got to go out there and make the plays. And this is something Brian Balagas talked about as well on their afternoon show there. And when he comes on with Wildy and Tausch, he was on with Homer the other night. And I don't want to get too off topic. We want to stay on time here, but he was talking offensive line, right? And basically Homer, and listen, I like Homer, but he's covered a team for a long time, right? He has the most casual approach to giving an opinion on a team that I've ever heard. Like, he was literally like, well, why didn't Matt LaFleur make second half adjustments with the offensive line if they couldn't block? And Balaga went, Homer, how many protections do you think there are? Like, there's only a handful of protections.
How many offensive linemen did we have left?
On top of that, he's like, we got Scat, we got Jet. And it's like, and Balaga kind of reiterated it. I think it was yesterday on Wildy and Tausch, or maybe it was the day before. Like, I actually posted the quote the other day where he chimed in. I think we did a video on the show. He's essentially saying it's not on Butkus, it's not on the coaches. They've got the most out of these guys. He said in a very nice way, this is as good as they're going to be. Meaning, the decisions that were made for the offensive line put in place were the problem. Meaning, as bad as people don't want to hear it, Brian Gutekunst probably whiffed on a few, right? I mean, Aaron Banks probably whiffed on Aaron Banks. Rasheed Walker, everyone was hoping, and this is where I give Goody a little grace, because Rasheed Walker came in as a seventh round pick and was your starting left tackle. They were hoping he'd take another step. Well, it looks like he's kind of plateaued. And even though he plateaued, he's about to get $20 million a year, most likely in free agency, right?
Well, it's not easy to fill the shoes of the legendary David Bakhtiari. Yes. And I think for a 7th rounder, Rasheed did about as good as you could expect, if not a little more. But I'm with you, Clay. It would have been nice to really see him get to that next level and maybe live up to that level of play that we saw from number 69 for so many years.
Yeah. And again, the reason I bring this up during the Bisaccia talk is because it's lack of execution. There's one thing, and I actually called into Wildy and Tausch the other day. It's a point that I made, and I actually asked Tausch, I'm like, if you could choose, because he's been this is Matt LaFleur's fault as opposed to it's Goody's fault. And I said, if you could choose, Tausch, you played in the league, if you could choose between having a first-year rookie lineup next to you, or on both sides of you, let's get extreme, or would you rather have a 7-year vet? Which would you rather have? And he said, well, all things being equal, a 7th-year vet. But if it's a young Josh Sitton, I'd rather have Josh Sitton. That's not – again, the question is, should we get a little bit older or should we stay the youngest team in the league, right? That's the point I was trying to make. And he didn't answer it honestly. But with all that being said, at some point we've got to acknowledge that the youth of this team is at least playing somewhat of a role in the mental mistakes, the penalties, and the late game collapses. I'm sorry, you're not going to convince me. Nick said it again earlier in the chat, and I agree 100%. You're not going to convince me it's Matt LaFleur's fault that the defense gave up 25 points in the fourth quarter of that Bears game. There's nobody that can convince me. There's not an adjustment he could have made to prevent that from happening. Well, why did it happen, Clayton? You've seen guys getting beat. You've seen Edgerrin Cooper leave with an injury, so now you're down to the bare bones minimum of your defensive roster. No Micah, no Devontae, no Edgerrin Cooper. You've got, once again, an undrafted free agent and a 7th-round pick playing corner. Like, what are we expecting, right? So, to me, it's more about roster construction. But do the guys need to coach better? Absolutely, they need to coach better. Again, whether you think Rich Bisaccia is a good special teams coordinator or not, it came out this week. Everybody in the building wants him back. There was no reports of this guy doesn't like him, that guy doesn't like him. It was just unanimous across the board. Everybody's saying he's a culture guy. They want to keep him in Green Bay. So I think the right move would be, hey, assistant head coach, great, and now go pay a young and up-and-comer special teams coordinator, right, to come in and work with Rich and let him focus on that while Rich helps with the culture, that type of thing. So
I agree 100%. But I think personnel plays into that factor as well when we talk about special teams. I don't think that gets brought up enough. I mean, hell, we had our starting running back returning kicks against the Bears. It got that bad. So when you are young, look at how your team's groups are made up. And it's tough to get, consistent execution if you've got musical chairs with young players in your special teams room. So you can bring me the best special teams coordinator in the world. He's still got to work with the pieces that he has. So, roster construction plays a role there as well.
Yeah, definitely. And Mike Z in the chat said players make plays, period. Right. Yeah. I mean, again, Bill Belichick quote, players win them and coaches lose them is what he says.
Yep.
Right. If you don't have the right guys on the roster, it's going to be hard to coach those guys up. I mean, that's the thing too, with the youngest roster in the league. The fact that we made the playoffs 3 years in a row with the youngest roster in the league, to me, that feels like it's peaked. It's like, all you can do is give these guys a chance. And then you get out there and the bright lights come on in the playoffs. And, you're going to want, a veteran player to potentially make a play here. Low skip, if I'm saying that right. Low skip, maybe. You need vet dogs. I mean, again, I don't think there's anybody that's hearing my voice right now, no matter what job it is that you do for a living. I imagine if you are in the heat of the battle and it's crunch time and it's okay, we got to get this done right now. The pressure is on. Would you rather have a first-year employee or would you rather have somebody who's been here for 8 years and know the industry, they know the business, they know the task at hand, right? It's a no-brainer. Now, there's got to be a good blend of that. You can't just, march out a bunch of Social Security checks out there on the field every Sunday, right? It's got to be right. I'm not saying we need to be the oldest team in the league. I'm not saying we need to be the 15th oldest team in the league. I'm just asking, for once, can we please not be the youngest team in the league? Get me around that 5 mark. That's all I need. So
scared money don't make money.
Correct, Coach. Now, final point, the Packers seem to have shifted to paying huge money for assistants, which means all defensive coordinator candidates should be on the table and seem to be waiting for the big fish to hit the pond this week. Jim Leonard, book your flight, sir. I'm getting more excited about Jim Leonard. Now, listen, I would be okay with Durante Jones, right? Jonathan Gannon, I'm not as high on as others. If I had to rank them, though, I would go of the 3 interviews we have left, Durante Jones, Jonathan Gannon, and Al Harris. I would probably rank them Durante Jones, Jonathan Gannon, then Al Harris. And I know people are going to hate that. The main reason I want Al Harris as a DC is because I know the fans will absolutely love it. And there's nothing better than seeing a bunch of fired up Packer fans. But if I'm going strictly off of what they've done in the league so far, and more specifically like with Jonathan Gannon, I know he was a quirky head coach and everything, but what he did in Philly as a DC was pretty damn impressive, enough so to be one of the top head coaching hires. As a defensive coach, which you're kind of stacked against it anyway there, getting a job. So we'll continue to give you guys breaking news on all of this as – I love it. Donovan Shelley said, fire Jim Leonard, hashtag fire Jim Leonard, hashtag hire Al Harris. There you go. So I'm curious to know what everybody thinks. Let us know in the comments. How do you feel about this report here from Pete Doherty? that the Packers seem to be paying bigger money on assistant coaches. Let us know in the comments what you think if you're watching this back later. Also, make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you know when we go live in the future. All right, Tim, let's shift gears, man. You want to talk a little free agency, a little way too early free agency? That sound good to you?
Might as well. We're talking about bringing in some veteran presence on this roster, so let's take an early look. Why not?
So I want to go ahead and say this. You guys can find this article over at Patreon, okay? Everything that we put together, you can find at patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. $3, you get access to everything on the site. It's a way to support the show, extra content. I put out like 3 or 4 draft profiles last night, just getting the scouting template together for this draft season. We were looking at like Jake Slaughter, center from Florida. Very interesting there. You guys know
not love a center named Slaughter.
Dude, I'm telling you.
Let's go.
Seriously. Yeah. So when I look at this offensive line, Tim, and what we need to do to improve, I think everybody would agree. We may disagree on how to get to this point, but I think everybody would agree that offensive line needs to be a key focal point this offseason, right? That was the thing that held our offense back a little bit. Defense, there's plenty of holes, right? You could go out, you need to go grab a corner probably. You need to try to make some things happen there. Stack backer, I know on this show specifically, me and Tim disagree, I'm sure. Like, I don't think Quay Walker's the guy. Tim thinks he is. I think the majority of the fan base agree with you, Tim, from what I've seen on Twitter. People want Quay back, right? I would love to have him back for the right.
$15+ million a year, though.
That's the tough part because somebody's probably going to pay him, right? They're probably going to give him that. So what we're going to do is rattle through this free agency real quick, and I want to highlight just 2 or 3 people that kind of grab my attention, and I want to get everybody's take on it. That sound good, Tim?
Yes, sir.
All right, so what we got is top 40 free agents according to the Ringer. So we took that list in that order, how they had them ranked, and then I attached the PFF grades. All right, so let's just rattle through real quick. George Pickens is number 1 wide receiver. I know people roll their eyes. I know he's a head case at times. He quits on plays. Damn, those PFF grades, 68, 74, 78, 85. He's an ascending player. If he can get his head out of his ass, that dude could be a dominant wide receiver. He's at the top of the list. Trey Hendrickson, edge from the Bengals, okay? He's number 2. Number 3, Tim, and I want to stop.
Here's the guy. Let's talk about Mr. Linderbaum.
And listen, I want to be very clear, guys. I try to curb the enthusiasm this time of year because these type of guys, we get excited like, yeah, let's go after him. Let's go make a run at him, right? And then he re-signs with his current team, and you're like, well, crap, we got excited for no reason. So take this with a grain of salt, but this is what we're going to kind of dive into. Tyler Linderbaum. I remember when he was taken with the 25th overall pick there in Baltimore back in 2022, I remember having a very high draft grade on Tyler Linderbaum. I need to see if I can find that old draft book because I used to do them manually back then too. But Tyler Linderbaum was one of the top center prospects, okay? His PFF grades so far in his young career, 74, 78, 79, 80. This dude has gotten better every single year. He played 1,007 snaps last year. He's 6'2", 305 out of Iowa. Iowa knows how to turn out them hog mollies, man. And by the way, there's one in the draft this year. His name is Logan. Somebody help me out in the chat. I know you'll know his name. Logan something. He's one, maybe Logan Poole or something, but he's one that a lot of people are interested. He's not in our top 3 on our draft board yet, but that may shift around for sure. So, Tyler Linderbaum, Tim, this is the one that grabs my attention. Now,
you look up NFL center in the dictionary, this should be the picture, right?
Yes.
Right here. I mean, this guy just looks like he eats defensive tackles for breakfast every day. I love it.
So, and when you look at this, right, like immediately the salary cap doom and gloomers go, you can't afford him. We're over on the cap. Let me put those rumors to bed here real quick.
The salary cap's not a real thing.
You could free up. You could be 30 million under the cap like that. Let me just paint you a picture here. Let's say just a trade-off, right? If we bring back Elton Jenkins, he's 24.8 against the cap. 24.8 million against the cap, okay? Now, let me ask you this. Would you be willing to part ways with Elton Jenkins, free up $20 million in cap space? You would immediately free up $20 million in cap space, and then you could go get Tyler Linderbaum for $17.7 million per, according to the market projection. Now, this may be too low. It may be too high. I think it'll be a little bit higher than this. Could you imagine, though, swapping out an aging Elton Jenkins who's battling injuries? He's already had an ACL. Last year he had the injury, and obviously I don't expect him. He's definitely not going to be back at that number. What I would love to see happen, though, Tim, cut Elton Jenkins and let him know, go to free agency, bring us back your best offer. Now, he may be pissed at the organization. He kind of held out last year because he wanted to get some more guaranteed money. Good thing Goody didn't do that. And full transparency, I think I wanted him to give him a little bit more guaranteed money. And Goody stood his ground. That was a good move by him because it just didn't work out this year. Right now, you can make the case that him missing training camp hurt the offensive line, right? So maybe if you want to look at it that way, like, hey, they should have worked out some kind of deal to get him in here sooner. That, and when I say missed training camp, he wasn't practicing. He was actually
he was there. He just wasn't, practicing.
Correct. So $17.7 million. When you look at the comps here, Tim, I'll tell you a comp you won't find on here. You won't find Josh Myers. Okay, you've got Creed Humphrey. That name ring a bell. That's the center that was taken one pick after Goody took Josh Myers.
Yeah.
Cam Jurgens, if I remember correctly, Cam Jurgens was the replacement, the handpicked replacement by Jason Kelsey. He helped the Philadelphia Eagles find Cam Jurgens and said, yeah, that's the dude you want. He played, I think, guard alongside Kelsey his last year and then stepped in as the starting center for Philly. Lloyd Cushenberry, and looky here, Drew Dahlman. We were all over Drew Dahlman in free agency last year. The Packers disagreed. They moved Elton Jenkins to center. They went out and spent money on Aaron Banks. As of right now, it looks like Aaron Banks was a whiff. Imagine if they had signed Drew Dahlman at center, right, and kept Elton Jenkins at guard, and now you would be going into year 2 of Drew Dahlman's contract. Your starting center's in place. He played great for the Chicago Bears this year. You'd have your starting center, and now we would be adding a guard in, right? It'd be a much better situation. So, again, this isn't a I told you so podcast. We don't do that here. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I understand player evaluation contracts or anything in between better than an NFL level GM. I'm just giving you a fan's perspective, and everything that we say is on record. You can go back and watch the videos, right? That's what I love about it. It really keeps people accountable on the show, myself more so than anyone, that I got to go back and go, boys, I got that one wrong. And it's happened several times, a lot of times, okay? So if they had went with Drew Dahlman, that was the right move. I'm telling you right now, if Tyler Linderbaum were to hit free agency, go get his ass. And again, you can afford it. I'm telling you, if you just move on from Elton and let him test the market, and let's say, Tim, he tests the market and they go, no, man, the best we can do is $8 million.
Come on back, Big E. You can play left guard. Let's go.
So you bring him back, right? You let him play left guard. You could do a post-June 1 cut and move on from Aaron Banks. And when you move on from Aaron Banks, I think the post-June 1 cut frees up. I mean, it's a big number. Pre-June 1 is $4 million. I want to say post-June is like $18 million or something. So you can free up that money, although you won't get it until June, but you can kind of project towards that. Imagine Tyler Linderbaum playing center, Elton Jenkins at left guard, Jordan Morgan playing left tackle. He graded out over 70 in the 70s every game that overall when he played tackle this season, he was in the 70s. So left tackle Jordan Morgan, left guard Elton Jenkins, center Tyler Linderbaum, right guard Anthony Belton, although you can't rest on your laurels thinking he's the guy. I don't think he played good last year. That's just my personal opinion. Zach Tom at right tackle, right?
When Zach Tom is back in 100%. You know, that's something else we got to think about early on. You know, who's getting those reps at right tackle. Yeah. Do you think Belton could kick over one more spot and play a right tackle spot, and then you put Nacho Libre at right guard?
He could, but Tim, it's not. To me, he's one of the rare cases where they moved him from tackle to guard. Like we moved Jordan Morgan from tackle to guard, and it didn't look good. He's a tackle. They put Belton in at guard, and he looked like a mauler. So I think he played better at guard than tackle. I just don't want to give the misinterpretation that I think he played great like some people pretend like he did. I didn't see it. Now, I think you should play him at right guard. But you can bring back Darian Kennard, right? Darian Kennard could play right tackle in a pinch.
Yep. You can go out and draft a swing tackle too.
I think everything that we've seen on Zach Tom, we should be a little worried. Can he make it back week 1? But I would expect him back week 1. Unless something goes wrong with the surgery and everything, I think he'll be back week 1 personally. So I wouldn't be overly concerned. And again, you take swings in the draft. Imagine this. Imagine you sign Tyler Linderbaum, and then you take a swing on an interior offensive line like one of these guys that I just talked about, right?
Yep.
Like imagine taking a swing on a Jake Slaughter And maybe you kick Linderbaum to guard or something. You know what I mean? Just to bolster that interior up a little bit. Maybe it would be Jake Slaughter that would just kick over to guard. However, you got to do something different on the offensive line. And I've seen people in the comments say, get over it. Rasheed Walker's coming back. I would love to know what kind of wager you would be willing to put on that. Not with me, just in how confident are you in that? Because I get the vibe, Tim, they're not going to bring him back. I don't know how you feel, unless the market falls flat, right?
Yeah, I agree. And again, you can't knock these players. Most NFL players get one chance to sign a real deal, big boy contract. And I think someone's going to offer Sheed more than we would be willing to pay him. He probably comes back on a discount, but I'm with you, Clay. I don't think that's very likely.
Yeah, I really don't, man. And again, it's one of those things that if he goes out there and the market's only 10 million, I could justify bringing him back for 10 million. But he's on this list, and I do think he'll probably get 20 million per. Now, how much guaranteed money will there be? Only time will tell, right? That we'll kind of see how that kind of falls into place. But we're going to move on and talk a little stack backer. Okay. So if you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about Tyler Linderbaum? Is that a guy that you would be interested in signing for the Packers? Do you think the Packers have a realistic chance? Do you think that they'll just stick with Elgton Jenkins, restructure his deal? Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the near future. So, Tim, I'm going to comb back through this list here, and we're going to go on down and continue to look at these free agents. And when we get to Quay and another stack backer, may get to the stack backer before Quay, they're both on this list. I want to talk about it. So number 4, Jalen Phillips, edge from the Eagles. Number 5, this is our guy, Devin Lloyd. All right.
Talk about some veteran presence.
Bro, look at this guy. He just finished his 4th year, rookie contract up. He was the former 27th overall pick, right? And he was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, again, I try not to get our hopes up too much, because they'll probably try to re-sign him. I would imagine that Anthony Campanelli, especially if he stays with Jacksonville, this is a guy in the middle of his defense that he wants, right? So Devin Lloyd, a versatile 3-down linebacker who excels in both run support and pass coverage. He came in the league, 48 was his rookie PFF grade. That's cheeks. I mean, let me give you an example. That's where Belton finished this year. So this should give you some hope on Belton. Maybe Belton could take a second-year jump, right? Yep. Because in year 2, Devin Lloyd jumped to the 14th highest-graded stack backer at 78.1. Year 3 took a slight step back, but still somewhat stabilized, 76.7. He was the 13th highest-graded backer that year. And then this year, 88.4 elite grade, the 3rd highest-graded stack backer. Could you imagine? And again, I know you like Quay, and I do too to a certain extent. But could you imagine having Devin Lloyd and Edgerrin Cooper playing next to each other?
Yep.
That'd be deadly. Now, you can't spend money on all these free agents, right? You got to pick and choose. I would prioritize, if you only had one free agent to hire or to sign, to me, it would be Linderbaum. Hands down, go after that dude, right? But Devin Lloyd was very interesting here. This is why we talk about free agency, right? It's like this is the stuff that you, in just 1 or 2 swoops of a pen, Tim, you can flip your roster. Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs, boom, you're in business. You know what I'm saying? And
I agree with you too that the interior O-line is probably priority 1. I think especially when it comes to just looking at free agency. But a player like Devin Lloyd, who's done nothing but improve year after year after year, and clearly kind of fits the mold of the type of stack backer we're looking for, especially when you're talking about filling the void if Quay does ultimately sign somewhere else, which we all probably think is going to happen. Another guy that maybe comes back on a sweetheart deal, but hey, you're coming off your rookie contract. I don't think you're going to sign a sweetheart deal. I think you're going to try and get paid. And I'm sure Devin Lloyd's going to try and get paid as well. But it seems like there might be a little bit more of an upside here. And yeah, I could see him pairing up well with Edge Coop. And then, we still got McDuffie for another year or 2, right? So, that middle linebacker room is looking pretty good. And then you've got Tyron Hopper, continuing to develop behind them. So I like this move. I really do. But I do prioritize center and interior O-line first and foremost, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if you're asking, okay, how could you afford Linderbaum and Devin Lloyd? Well, you got Rashawn Gary, who's $28 million against the cap. Okay, if you cut him outright, it's $11 million in savings. You can go post June 1 and free up even more money. So you could decide, we'll move on from Rashawn Gary and bring in somebody like Devin Lloyd. Okay. And now your edge room would be Micah Parsons, LVN. You'd have Barron Sorrell, Brenton Cox Jr. Okay. Kingsley Enagbare set to be a free agent. His market value, I want to say his fair market value, where's it at? 5.9 million. And you could get him back on a 3 or 4 year deal if that holds true, and he'd be $3 million against the cap the first year. You could make it happen. I kind of feel like move forward, but they do like Enagbare. And if they do decide to re-sign him, I completely understand because he did play decent football. PFF disagrees. The pressure rate ain't there, but there were times where you could see the flash. Maybe if he had more snaps, he could be a little more consistent. I don't know. But
certainly the more economical option for the Packers front office, right?
Yeah. Now, moving on down the list, number 6, Daniel Jones, quarterback for the Colts. Number 7, Breece Hall, running back from the Jets. Number 8, Travis Etienne, running back from the Jaguars. Number 9, wide receiver Alec Pierce. I think they'll re-sign Alec Pierce. That's a young up-and-coming. His stats are very, very comparable to Christian Watson. Now, if you could go get somebody like Alec Pierce, and I'm not saying you should, our wide receiver room, we've already talked about it. It's the reason we're probably not going to bring Romeo Doubs back because it's going to take targets away from the young guys. But Alec Pierce, if you imagine him on one side and Watson on the other, good luck, man. You're going to have to play 2 on the shelf constantly. But defensive tackle, here we go, John Franklin Myers. Now, he's considered the 10th best free agent according to the Ringer. I disagree. You can see he's a guy that's now 29 years old. His PFF grades throughout his career, 65, 71, 80, 82, 70, 78, 61. So it seems like he's on the decline here. I think you would be overpaying for good rather than overpaying for great. So I would not be interested in signing him, although we do see 3-tech as a potential need in the future. Number 11, tight end Kyle Pitts. Number 12, Alante Taylor, cornerback. There was trade rumors the Packers were interested in him. Keep an eye on that in terms of him hitting free agency there I think he played for the Saints last year. But I haven't been that impressed with him, to be honest with you. His PFF grade was a 63 this year. Before that, it was a 54, 45, 45. And like I said, peaking at a 63. Jalen Watson, cornerback from the Chiefs. That's a guy that's ascending. That's a good cornerback you might be interested in pursuing in free agency. Former 7th-round pick. Overachiever, 61, 68, 69, 74, ascending in the league in terms
boundary
of
corner too. We need an outside corner.
Could be, yeah. Reek Woolen, another one. Now, a lot of people are really high on Reek Woolen. I'm not as high on him. You can see he's kind of declined a little bit, 69, 67, 67, 62. That would be overpaying for good as opposed to great. I would much rather, if I had to choose between those two, it'd be Jalen Watson, to be honest with you. I agree. I'm trying to get down to Quay. So here's Quay. They've got Quay listed as the 15th.
There's those PFF numbers. God, PFF hates Quay Walker.
So again, the Ringer says he's the 15th best free agent. And this, to me, this has been the story on Quay. You either love him or you hate him, not as a person, but as a football player, right? Yeah. 15th overall, an athletic linebacker who has improved his play recognition and tackling consistency. The reason I push back on PFF getting it wrong with Quay, the passer rating when targeted, he ranked like 77th, right? His stop rate wasn't as good as it needed to be. He makes a lot of tackles, but it's not at the proper depth. Although people would say that he has played, like it says here, he's improved his play recognition and tackling consistency. I feel like his play recognition did get better this year, but not to the tune like you're saying, Tim, of someone potentially paying $15 million, right? Because his PFF grade, 52, 58, 57, 46. I don't think it should have been that low, but I definitely don't see me being willing to pay him $15 million per, if that is the going rate in the market. So to me, Tim, it comes down to, if you got to pay him a similar amount of money, who would you rather have, Devin Lloyd or Quay Walker? I'm definitely choosing Devin Lloyd there. But what do you think, man? Do you feel any different about that? Or I think you already said you wouldn't be willing to pay $15 million for Quay,
no,
right?
And that's probably my best friend on this football team. Quay is my dude, so I got to take my heart out of this. As bad as I'd like to see him play his entire career here, I think you're right, and I think he is. He's going to hit the market, and I think he'll probably get an offer close to that asking price. Yeah. Certainly north of what the Packers may be willing to pay to keep him around. And also, you got to remember too, guys coming off their rookie contract, it's about years too. We always talk about a 4-year deal is really a 3-year deal. These guys think about that. They're looking for a team to commit to them too. If you are going to, in fact, go somewhere else, sign somewhere else, get your money, you want to know it's going to be for the long haul and not a 1 or 2 seasons and you're out of there kind of thing. So, yeah, it's tough, man. I just don't see the Packers paying that kind of money to keep Quay. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't either, man. I don't either. And maybe he'll fit somewhere else better, right? He may go somewhere else and blow up. I hope he does.
Yeah,
Mike
like
Z.
Yeah,
hey, there you go, right? Mike Z with the super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. He says, if we address the middle of the offensive line and defensive line, everything behind and aside these lines change dramatically, in my opinion. Middle out is the key. Completely agree. You're speaking my language there. And again, if you could find a 3-tech in free agency, be willing to overpay for great. Just don't overpay for good. Now, keep in mind, Devontae Wyatt, $12 million against the cap with that 5th-year option, and you got to give him a contract if you think he's the guy, right? That could just be a Bridget. There's a little bit of what am I trying to say here? What's the word I'm looking for, Tim? In the past, the Packers have slapped the 5th-year option on Darnell Savage and then didn't re-sign him. So that could be in the works for Devontae Wyatt, right? They may say, all right, we'll bring him back one more year, and if he don't blow up, we'll just let him walk. That could be the case, right? Precedent was the word I was looking for. So there's precedent for giving a 5th-year option and not extending, although I do think they like Devontae Wyatt. And I don't think Devontae Wyatt's a bad football player. I just don't see him as a top 10 3-tech. And we need to continue to look for a top 10 3-tech if at all possible, in my opinion. So thank you so much for the super chat, Mike. Appreciate you, buddy. Moving down the list, look who's next on the list, Tim.
Here's a guy.
Rasheed Walker. You got Rasheed Walker. All right. And so Shido, it says at number 16, a former 7th-round gem who has solidified himself as a high-end pass-blocking left tackle. That is 100% true.
Yes.
He is a high-end
run blocking, however.
Run blocking cheeks, 53.7. I think we look at the tape and we all agree, pretty bad run blocker, right? Definitely not a $20 million a year run blocker, although he will probably get $20 million because pass blocking is that important. I'm just saying, kick Jordan Morgan to left tackle. He's proved that he can play tackle. That's where he looked the most comfortable. He is just as good at pass blocking as Rasheed Walker. Maybe not a great run blocker either, but that would definitely be the placeholder at left tackle for me. And I want to say he's on the hook for like $4 million as opposed to 20. Yeah, talking about a $16 million swing there, Tim.
Yep, and the youth factor too. I mean, Sheed's still really young too. I mean, he's not an old dog yet, but Jordan Morgan, that's clearly the plan, right? Why did they draft him? That was the plan. I think the moving him around and sticking him at guard was just to try and get him NFL reps and get him acclimated to this level of play. But I think the plan all along was always to have Jordan Morgan be your left tackle.
Nick McSwain said she's going to get 20 million-ish. I agree with that. Chris Ann says Wyatt banged up a lot, hasn't had many snaps in 4 years. It's a great point, Chris. And some people look at that and go, well, if he stays healthy, we think he can be great. I never look at that as positive. Not that you do either, Chris. I don't know how you feel about that. But we say you can't make the club in the tub. And obviously, man, you're not going to get that check if you're constantly banged up. The two most important abilities are availability and accountability. He's accountable. His availability been a little bit suspect right now. Hopefully he can put it all together this way. So let me hit this real quick here. Lindsey, cute pup in the pick. We need a nose tackle, not a 3-tech. And then he goes on to say, why do you keep saying 3-tech? You could tell
I had to do it, Clay. I know you want to talk about this stuff, so I had to star that one for you.
You can tell when people don't watch the show much. I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong, Lindsey. Okay, if you think a nose tackle, a shade, an A gap guy is more important than a 3-tech, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. Okay, just understand that you're agreeing to disagree with some of the greatest football minds in the history of the game, like your Bill Belichick's, folks like that. In my opinion, their opinion as well, 3-tech is more important than nose. On top of that, you look at the way Kobe Wooden played nose this year. He led the defensive lineman in run stops. Notice Kenny Clark didn't do that last year while playing touch, spy, and shade. Didn't happen, right?
Yep.
What Kobe Wooden did this year as a nose tackle was like, that's serviceable. That's
salute to the general.
And the reason that these football minds, not Clayton, I'm an idiot. I'm a dumb redneck from Tennessee, okay? Raised in Kentucky. That gets even worse, right? The reason these football minds see 3-tech more important than nose is in an ideal situation in a passing league in which we've got here, you want to have your best edge rusher on one side and you want to have a pass rushing 3-tech on the other, because the offensive line has to choose. Do we double that 3-tech and put the center in a disadvantage? Or do we try to kick out and double the edge rusher on the opposite side? Okay. Now, you could choose to do both, but now you're taking people out of the route, right? If you choose to double with the tight end and the tackle, you've got one less in the route. Therefore, if we go green dog, you can fire on the quarterback. Okay. Now you got a +1 hat count, or you've got a matched hat count, even though they kept extra protection in. You'll see a 6-man protection and pressure get home, probably a green dog attached to put that pressure in the quarterback's lap. It's all a numbers game. But the point being, and I'll move on, I don't want to go on a rant here. Edge defender, 3-tech, that's how you get the most out of your pass rush. That's not my opinion. That's some of the greatest coaches in the history of the game and how they teach that up. Yeah. I mean, take an opposite approach. Your nose tackle, right? The reason I don't put as much priority and they don't put as much priority, it's important. Don't get me wrong. It's important. It's not as important as a 3-tech. When you spend big money on a nose tackle and you're just going to line him up in the A gap and make him face a double team all the time, that's what you're doing with the touch spy and that A gap, that shade look that we show with Kobe Wood, we show with Kenny Clark. Everybody said Kenny Clark sucks at football all of a sudden. No, he had a foot injury. They were putting him in the A gap because they knew they would just double team him. If they're double teaming him, you're getting a +1 hat count somewhere else on the front. That's the whole purpose. So if you spend your big money on a guy who's going to get double teamed constantly, and then you've got a mediocre 3-tech, well, guess what? You just played in the offense's hands. We'll just put a double team. That makes our job easy. We ain't got to do. Now, if you go that route, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. But if you get someone like a Chris Jones who can play nose, but also play a wide 9, can play a 7, can play a 3, that's a different ballgame. Those are freaks. I consider Chris Jones a 3-tech, not a nose. When you talk about the best nose tackles in the game, well, Quinnen Williams, look at where Quinnen Williams lines up. He's not playing predominant nose. He's a 3-tech that you can play at nose. That's a different ballgame. So, yes, we will always disagree if you think a shade to 1-tech is more important than a 3-tech. There's no reason us having a conversation. We would just smack each other around. You know what I mean? So, and he says, thank you. There you go. All right. I appreciate your opinion too. Again, I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. I'm basing my information off of stuff that I've studied, right? I've never played 3-tech. You know what I mean? I'm 6 foot 195. Probably wouldn't work out that good. You know what I'm saying? So,
and it's true. Like, you got to be kidding me saying here in the chat, we need both. Yeah. Nobody's debating that, right? Obviously, but where are you going to put your priority? I'll tell you what, I'd feel a lot better having these type of conversations, knowing who the hell our defensive coordinator is going to be,
yes.
Because we don't know. We could end up back in a 34 scheme all of a sudden for all we know. It depends on who's hired,
Right. Khalil Mack continuing to do it 79.2. He'll be a free agent again. We talked about this a few years ago before we got Mike. I was like, bringing Khalil Mack opposite Gary. I still think it would have been a good move. You've seen the last 2 years, a 90 and a 79. But this dude I don't know how he does it, Tim. He's 35 years old. It's crazy.
Braden Smith, just like our boy Bobby Wagner. Some guys just never age in the NFL, apparently.
So we'll keep moving here. I'm going to rattle through the rest of these free agents. You guys can check this list out in our Patreon group. Braden Smith, offensive tackle for the Colts. He's 19. Jawan Jennings, wide receiver from the Niners, is 20. 21, Malik Willis. Look at this. Rejuvenated his career in Green Bay as a high-end backup/spot starter with a dual threat ability. 92.3. He had the highest PFF grade in the entire National Football League this year. Malik about to get paid. I can't wait to root on him wherever he goes, as long as it's not a division rival, of course. Kobe Bryant, safety in the 22 spot. I don't agree with him being that high, but it is what it is. Number 23, the Bears safety Jaquan Brisker set to hit free agency. He's been not a bad football player, but I definitely wouldn't overpay for him. Kenneth Walker at 24, running back from Seattle, the number 1 graded running back. Tim, this dude's a stud. He does not get talked about enough. 76, 83, 88, 90. He's continuing to get better. You've got Odafe Owe, if I'm saying it right, edge defender from the Chargers. He's in the number 25 spot. Aaron Rodgers in the 26th spot. My man's still holding on for dear life. If Mike McCarthy gets that head coaching job in Pittsburgh and Aaron goes to Pittsburgh, I'm going to lose my mind. It's going to be absolutely awesome, dude. So,
what do you mean he's going to come back here after we lose Malik? He's going to back up Jordan.
Oh, dude, I would be all about it. Are you kidding me? I know. Yeah. I don't know how Aaron would like that, obviously.
No, that's not going to happen. I'm joking.
That would be awesome, though. Imagine if he did say, you know what, guys, I'm not the player I used to be. I want to end it in Green Bay. I'm going to take the veteran minimum and back up Jordan.
Yeah. The hell with the one-day contract. We'll do a 1 year. Let's go.
I would love that. We know it's not going to happen, but I would love that. Number 27, Javonte Williams, running back. 28, Wan'Dale Robinson from Kentucky with the Giants last year. He's 28th ranked free agent and wide receiver, 70.2 last year. Debo Samuel, looking like he might be back on the market from the Commanders at 29. Isaiah Likely, tight end from the Ravens at 30. 31, DJ Reader, defensive tackle from the Lions. I go, would that work? Nah, a little too old. 30, almost 32 years old. Probably don't want. That's not your answer at 3-tech, obviously, right?
No.
So, 32, Boye Mafe, edge defender from the Seahawks. Not been a bad player, but he's sitting in the 32 spot. 33, Caden Ellis, linebacker from the Falcons. 34, Nakobe Dean, linebacker from the Eagles. He's been too up and down for me, but that's a stack backer that might hit the open market. So,
similar to Quay, right? When he's on, he's on, and when he's off, it's like, oh gosh,
right. Yeah, I think he'll probably get a similar deal to Quay, though, to be honest with you. You know probably. What I mean? Yep. Jamil Dean, cornerback from the Buccaneers, 81.5 last year. He's 29 years old. That's an aging veteran. Might make a little bit of sense of bringing in a cornerback. We'll keep an eye on that one if he does hit the market. Travis Kelce tied in with the Chiefs. If he plays, he'll be with the Chiefs. I think we would all agree. I'd be surprised if he goes somewhere else. 37, Brian Cook, safety from the Chiefs. That's a dude that up till this year hasn't played that good, but boy, he really popped. He was the 5th highest graded safety at 83.5. 38, Ardarius Washington, safety from the Ravens. He's been too up and down for me for sure. Not that we need a safety anyway. Matt Milano, linebacker from the Bills. That's a name in the past has looked kind of intriguing. I think we were kind of high on him 2 years ago, and he's dropped off. So kudos to Goody for not taking the bait on Matt Milano, 53 and a 46 the last 2 years. Rasul Douglas. That's right. That Rasul Douglas that we traded for a 3rd-round pick last year, 73.5. Being a little too up and down for me. He's going to be 31 years old. That would be a no for me unless it was close to a veteran minimum. I don't think that'll be the case with Rasul. So those are the top 40 free agents according to the Ringer, along with their PFF grades. If you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments. Is there anybody on that list that grabbed your attention? Also, what did you think about Quay Walker versus Devin Lloyd? Which would you rather have? Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. Tim, we got through the list, and we went over. Surprise. But, God, it's so hard to not go over talking ball with you, man.
Man, I hear you. We'd be doing a 3-hour live stream if we weren't paying attention to the clock for sure.
Yeah. So, again, you guys go check that information out over in our Patreon community. The board is coming alive. I'm going to get another link posted a little later today. I got some more info to put in. I want to say we're at 300 prospects who have an actual grade now. There's 800 prospects on the board, and we're starting to mark some of these guys that will probably go back to college until their appeals get approved or disapproved. We won't truly know, but we'll continue to remove those prospects as more information comes in. Tim, is there anything else you want to hit, man? Anything on your mind before we wrap up?
No, just reminding the good folks to make sure they join the Patreon group if you're not already there, and click that like and subscribe, of course, here on the YouTube, and be a part of the posse, man. We've got a lot of great members of the community, and honestly, Clayton, the Patreon is humming right now. It's better than the X feed sometimes, honestly. So big shout out to you and Emilio working on everything on Patreon, especially with the draft board really coming together. And we're only a handful of days away from we got Senior Bowl and we got Shrine Bowl coming up. So be here before you know it.
We watched the American Bowl last night. It was live, and some of the lower-tiered players, like I seen Star Thomas from the University of Tennessee, he was playing in that game. I said, let me sit down, build a fire. I'm working on the draft board, right, being all professional, watching it. It was cheeks. Boy, it was like watching paint. I looked at Mandy at one point. She's on her phone, and I went, it's like watching paint dry. This is horrible, man. So, and you had Brian Billick was one coach. I think Mike Smith was the other, which, by the way, I'm close to Johnson City down here in Tennessee. And Mike Smith used to coach at ETSU, East Tennessee State University. He got a job with the Atlanta Falcons. And, of course, He kind of ran it into the ground or whatever, and he ended up coming back to teach a coaching seminar at ETSU. Which, listen, you make it to the NFL, you got to be a good coach, right? This isn't too much shade. I got a buddy, Nate. Shout out to Nate if he's watching the show. When we found out, I sent that to the guys here local. Said, "Hey man, Mike Smith's coming to do a coaching seminar at ETSU." Nate's response was epic. He responded with, "Mike Smith gonna come over here and teach you how to go 6-9." I lost it, Tim. I was like, "Oh my God!" It was so accurate. But again, he made the league. Nate, calm down. All right, calm down. It was just, well, what a great comeback. Yeah, he's gonna teach you how to win 6 games. Oh my God, dude, I lost it. So anyway, that's it, guys. We're out. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. If you're new here, this was your first time tuning into PTA, I mean this from the bottom of our heart. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. We greatly appreciate it. Appreciate all the new subs, everybody reaching out in the comments. It's a really, really fun, a really cool community that we're putting together. And I love that we keep weeding out the a-holes and just the guys that want to talk ball, be respectful, and us learn together as we go. It's been an absolutely awesome experience. So, Tim, appreciate your time, man. We'll be back later, guys. I'm reaching out to Baz to see if he wants to come on, do a 15-minute show with me. I want to get his take on special teams or on the defensive coordinator potential. Again, we'll see how busy he is. I know his channel is absolutely on fire over at Baserski Productions. So we'll see if we can get him in the loop as well. But appreciate everybody hanging out. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, spin those laces. All right, spin those laces, smash that like button, and we will be back as news breaks later on today. My name's Clayton. That's Tim. This is PTA. Go Pack, go.
Here we go.
Nice.
Bye, guys.